I'm very excited to be here today to talk with you all. And as Alistair mentioned, I formerly worked for a consulting company called Cardinal Path that worked with clients to help implement web analytics solutions and help our clients understand the data. I'm currently transitioning and will be joining Google in January as part of their analytics team. And I do a lot of outward-facing type of events like talking about marketing data and web analytics, but I haven't had the opportunity to talk to a big data crowd, so it's really exciting. And I couldn't have asked for kind of a better lead-in than what Diego was talking about looking for partners and partnering with the CMO and marketing sides of organizations, because in the web analytics world, we've been collecting a lot of data for a lot of time about what's going on with the website. And there's a lot of similarities and a lot of parallels between web analytics and the big data movement. So I thought, let's explore this, right? Let's try to figure this out and understand where there are similarities and where might things kind of be a little bit divergent. And so I wanted to start just by talking about, well, what is web analytics, right? Where are we in terms of web analytics as an industry? And this is kind of a generic definition that I've been using based on something that we get from the Web Analytics Association, our professional network, that web analytics is the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of digital data for the purpose of understanding and optimizing business performance. So, based on what Diego was talking about, based on what Alistair was talking about, a lot of similarities between web analytics and big data, right? We're collecting and measuring lots of data. We're pumping it out through reports with the ultimate purpose here of optimizing the business performance. And in the web analytics world, our focus usually is optimizing the website, right? So if we're e-commerce vendors, we're trying to sell more products. If we are publishers, we're trying to drive more traffic to popular content. But at a very high level, right, there's a lot of similarities between web analytics and big data. So I started to think, well, let's dig a little deeper, right? What are some of the things that really make big data special? And, Alistair was talking about three important things. He was talking about more data, he was talking about faster data, and he was talking about unstructured data. And in the web analytics world, we're starting to work with more and more types of data, right? So traditionally, we've always tracked marketing campaigns, email marketing, we've tracked display ads, we've pay-per-click, social media. We're trying to understand our return on these marketing activities, right? So we've had that data set. We've also collected geographic data set to help us better geo-target our online marketing activities. We've collected tons of visitor information. Who are these people using our website? Are they coming for the first time, or are they repeat visitors? And that's kind of evolved into device usage, right? As we've seen the explosion of smartphones and tablets, we're collecting lots of information about how are people accessing our websites, what devices, what are the features, what are the characteristics, so that we can better create an experience for them depending on where they're coming from. And obviously, classic web analytics data is content information, right? We're collecting information about what pages people are looking at, what sections are they interacting with. So we've had a lot of data as well. Now, in terms of the more data aspect of big data, we're not connecting it as well as we could, and I'm going to touch on that in the future. Another key characteristic is the faster data, right? In the world of web analytics, we have been talking a lot about real-time data, getting minute-by-minute reporting, and sometimes second-by-second reporting about who's on our website, where they came from, and what are they doing. And this lets marketers respond very quickly, right? So if I'm a content publisher and I know what's really popular right now, I might be able to take that information and say, you know what, this is really popular. I'm going to go tweet about it to drive more traffic there, or I might go say something on Facebook or Google+ in order to leverage that. So I'm getting real-time data to act on that. And the other kind of characteristic here, unstructured data. Web analytics data isn't completely unstructured. We do have some structure to our data, but we have the ability to kind of ask ad hoc questions of our data and segment our data in real time, similar to what big data folks are doing. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But so you can see here a lot of similarities, right? We're dealing with lots of data. We're looking at data really fast to make quick decisions, and we need the ability to wade through somewhat unstructured data to answer business questions. So lot of similarities. Another thing is that we're growing really, really fast. Sorry, here it looks like a little mix-up. The web analytics industry has kind of started to explode since 2005. And one of the kind of barometers that I use to gauge web analytics and its growth is Google Analytics. Google has a free web analytics tool that's out there. It was launched in 2005. And a conservative estimate of the number of Google Analytics accounts out there is about 20 million. So we've been rapidly growing since 2005. And it's been across all types of business and geographically all around the world. So not only are small and mid-sized businesses using Google Analytics, but a lot of enterprise size organizations as well. Right? This is a small little study that my former coworkers did at Cardinal Path, where they looked at the top 500 retail sites, and they found that 64% of them were using Google Analytics, whereas 3 years ago it was 43%. So Google Analytics is driving a lot of adoption of web analytics. And so if we're saying that web analytics and big data have a lot of similarities and we're seeing a huge growth in web analytics, I think it's really natural to assume that this could lead to a more exposure to big data and a larger audience for big data collection, techniques, and technologies. But before we kind of dive into that, we need to understand some of the things that make web analytics a little bit different than big data, right? While there are a lot of similarities, there are some things that are different. So let's talk about web analytics data, okay? And we've always had a hierarchy of data in the web analytics world. And at the top of our data hierarchy sits the visitor or a person, right? So we've always talked about collecting information about people, and some of that information we collect is what we call visit information or session information. So not only do we collect how many individual people come and visit websites, but we also collect information about how often do they come and what do they do during their visits. Key to that is pages, right? What type of content are they looking at on our website? So we've had that hierarchy, and recently over the last few years, we've kind of expanded the bottom of our pyramid. We've started to blow this out and started to collect a lot of other information that's definitely related to web, but it's a little bit different, right? We have these things called events, which are just arbitrary counters, and we can use them to count almost anything that's happening on a website. So think about video players, right? We can count which videos, how often they're being shown. Ajax widgets, if I'm a financial institution that offers loans, I can use these events to count things like mortgage calculators or other type of loan calculators. So we have events that are really broaden the scope of the data that we can collect. We also collect information about site speed and page load times, right, because those are critical to helping us optimize the web experience. Not traditional data, but very important. And we can collect financial data as well. We can collect, obviously, e-commerce transactions. So we've got this hierarchy that spans a lot of different data types and allows us to create really informed reporting about what's happening in the web. And a lot of our reporting is fairly straightforward. What we do is we divide all of the data that we're collecting about visitors, visits, page views into two groups, metrics and dimensions. Right? Metrics are all of our numerical data, all of our counts, all of our ratios, so things like the number of unique visits or the average number of pages viewed during a visit. We call these things metrics. And we collect all of this other information called dimensions, right? And dimensions are the attributes of our website visitors or the visits that they create. So things like what country did they come from? What type of browser were they using? What type of keyword did they type in? So we divide our data into metrics and dimensions, and then to analyze our data or do reporting, we literally just take a dimension and we look at a series of metrics for that dimension. So a really typical web analytics report would be, tell me about the content on our website. So we might take the dimension of URL or page URL and look at a series of metrics related to that. Okay, so in this report, I see all the different values of my page URLs, and then I see, counts of the number of pages, the average time spent on that page. Okay, so by taking this big data set, saying some of it is metrics, some of it is dimensions, I can then build out a series of reports to provide to stakeholders to help them understand what's going on with the website. Now, what's really cool is that a lot of our tools are letting users take dimensions and metrics and create these ad hoc queries against their data. So this is a part of the Google Analytics tool, and it's called the Advanced Segmentation tool. And basically with Advanced Segmentation, I can specify dimensions and metrics and in real time slice and dice my data based on dimensions and metrics. So I can say, I want to see all data for people who have visited the website more than 5 times, have viewed more than 10 pages, and have come from the United States. So I have some simple Boolean logic here and some evaluators that I can add to my advanced segmentation. And in real time, I'm going to be able to slice and dice my data set to understand what's going on with the website. So this is great, right, because it's giving people a relatively user-friendly way to explore the data and get into it. So we've got all this data. We're slicing and dicing it. Now what's interesting about web analytics is that we're starting to move in this direction where, sure, we're looking at a lot of website data, but we're starting to use some of these some of our characteristics of our data, like events, to collect information that is maybe not traditionally web analytics. And this is kind of a spot where we're moving into that more data realm of big data. And if you've been working in web analytics or if you've used web analytics, you probably know that most of the data comes from image requests or maybe what we call a beacon, right? So this is a beacon request from Google Analytics. So most web analytics tools send the data back to the analytics service, whether it's Omniture or Web Trends or Google Analytics, by basically requesting an image and tagging a whole bunch of information onto that image. This data then becomes dimensions and metrics within the system. Now, traditionally in the world of web analytics, we put JavaScript on our website pages to generate this image request. We don't need to do this manually. The JavaScript takes care of a lot of this for us. But what's cool is the tools in web analytics are starting to come out with lots of different libraries, right, so that we can apply web analytics data collection to different things. Google Analytics and a lot of tools have collection libraries for iOS and Android. Okay, so if you're building some type of app, you can use an analytics tool to collect information about that app. Now, the key here is that apps are not websites. We don't have a different data model within web analytics for apps. So we live in this world where we need to define pages in order to fit into the web analytics data model, right? There's no data model for an app in a lot of our tools. So I might say that these articles are pages, and I might use these things called events to track visitor actions, like favoriting a station or, having the player, turn on or off, okay? So, I'm using my analytics tool, but I'm using it in a different fashion. Another example, this is something that I worked on for a client, is collecting data from giant touch screens. In the automotive industry, a lot of dealerships have touch screen panels, like these 42-inch units, that run a variation of Windows and then have some Flash running on top of it. Again, not traditional web analytics, but these things have an internet connection. So I can go ahead and use my analytics data model, like events, or I can create, fake pages and track things like what type of color is most popular or what type of wheels are most popular. And I can then, use my reporting tool, my web analytics tool, to pump out information about, people in the Northeast really like these colors, or people in the South really like these types of wheels. Totally not traditional web analytics, but my tools are supporting this, allowing me to collect that information. So really what we're getting to is anything, PHP, Java, .NET, Perl, anything that's going to create an HTTP request, there are libraries out there, a lot of them supported by Google Analytics, Omniture, and others, that will collect data. So ultimately, when I'm creating my web-enabled refrigerator, I could probably go out and use my web analytics tool to collect information about what's going on my refrigerator. So web analytics definitely moving forward, definitely more data, faster data. some limitations, right, when we talk about web analytics and its relationship to big data is that we must conform to a web analytics data model, right? We have pages, visitors, visits, and events. We kind of have to work in that model. Hit limits can be implied, right? So if you're using Omniture or Google Analytics, there may be some hit limits. So you just can't send them unlimited sets of data. They might sample it. You don't get access to a lot of the raw data in some of these tools. You get access to the aggregated data. And finally, tracking individual visitors for some analytics tools has never been a strong suit, so there can be issues there. So while there are a lot of similarities and some limitations, there's definitely the opportunity there. And I'll just kind of wrap up here by saying that one of the things that we're really moving towards as web analytics is getting our data out, right? A lot of tools have, analytics tools have well-defined APIs. Google has one. They even give you the opportunity to, practice your extract queries here. It's basically straight-up query. You get back XML. And we're really looking for in the future to start putting Google Analytics or web analytics data in closer proximity to CRM data and sales data to help us understand more of the back end. Who are these people? What are they doing? By tying that to their interactions with the website. So I think absolutely web analytics is definitely starting to become a gateway drug to big data. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the two groups to work together in the future. And hopefully big data can kind of start trickling down into analytics and showing us some of the techniques and technologies that you're using in order to help us graduate and do more data collection and different types of analysis. So thank you guys so much. Like everyone said, definitely excited to answer some questions. Twitter, Google+, wherever they're happening, I'll be there to chat it up.
All right. Thanks a lot, Justin. Good presentation. So two interesting forays into the enterprise, one through marketing and the executive boardroom, and one through analytics that gives people a taste of how to segment the world. We're a little tight on time, but maybe you can give a quick answer to one of the questions that's come up here. Liz Pullen asked us, does web analytics do any content analysis, or is it only about website performance? And I think you touched on that a little bit, but do you want to maybe clarify that for her?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely focus in on a lot of content performance. So regardless of what type of website it is, commerce or a publishing type website, we're collecting information about what content is most popular. And we can collect it in a lot of different ways, from what pages are viewed to which categories or sections of the website. So yeah, we can definitely look at that information in the web analytics sphere.
Okay. John, you and Diego had a couple of questions as we were finishing up your session there. And I see a couple in the chat there. Do you guys want to tackle a couple of those quickly before we move on to Caitlin?
Sure. So Brad Anderson asked on Twitter, the market for people with big data skills is extremely tight, a lot of demand and not a lot of supply. So how do small and medium businesses deal with that kind of talent shortage for big data?
Yeah, a couple of parts there in terms of dividing on big data. I think there's three components to it. The analytics side, and I think that people that are doing analytics today will transition very, very nicely to tools like Tableau and even some of the Microsoft business intelligence tools. I think a lot of the vendors, you see a lot of announcements with vendors, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, really integrating some of these big data technologies, into their core stack. So that you can access, and actually Microsoft SQL Server 2012 will have a gateway to Hadoop, for example. So, and the analytics side, I think that vendors are going to try and make it easy transition. There is the side of the data science and big data, which is the algorithm side and the more mathematical side to do predictive analytics and that kind of stuff. Quite frankly, I think some of that you either have to get consulting or transition people that may be outside IT now that are more on the algorithm side, people that may be in operations research, for example. And then on the big back-end stuff, quite frankly, I think it's a great opportunity to retrain people internally, to grow your own people. When I used to manage large IT organizations, people love to play with the new stuff. And if you have a great DBA, I think he would love to learn Hadoop. I think O'Reilly's doing some stuff in terms of teaching people, but I think EMC also has online Hadoop training and EMC World. So just understand which area you want to tackle, whether it's the front end, the analytics, the back end, or the middle, which is the whole algorithm piece.
Great. And a final question from Patrick Pete. Just wondered if you could give the name of the company you mentioned that gathers information based on email addresses.
RapLeaf. I'll tweet it. It's RAP Leaf LEAF, and we use them, and you can get amazing stuff based on a simple email address to build your customer profile.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.